You will hear a talk about waste management. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Listen carefully to the first part of the talk and answer questions 11 to 16.
Good evening. I'd like to start by thanking Mrs. Wilson for inviting me to speak to the Residents' Association. My topic, indeed my business, is waste management. And one of the reasons I've been invited to talk to you this evening is that, I've been told, some of you still have problems with the sorting of waste into various categories, and why you should do it. I'll go into that in detail later, but first I'd like to give you an overview of what waste management involves and what its main aims are, what it hopes to achieve. If you think back to the last time there was a dustman's strike, I shall use the old word for them, you'll remember just how, to put it mildly, unpleasant it was. The mess, the filth, the stench. But of course, it's more serious than mere inconvenience. Waste that is not properly managed is a serious health hazard and leads to the spread of infectious diseases. All that unattended waste lying around attracts flies, rats, and other creatures that in turn spread disease. Normally, it is the wet waste that decomposes and releases a bad odour. By wet waste, I mean mainly food rubbish, which decomposes and liquefies, and which left unmanaged leads to unhygienic conditions and a rise in health problems. This is what the Americans call garbage. We tend to think that garbage is the American word for rubbish, but it is specifically used to mean wet waste, while they use the word rubbish to cover all waste, wet and solid. While we're on America, the garbage collectors there have a colourful term for the maggots to be found in food waste. Disco rice. I like that. But I digress. So, a main aim is obviously to keep our towns and cities clean and disease-free. How do we go about this? Well, like the teaching profession, we have our 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. These are the main strategies for waste minimization. There are others, and ideally the goal would be prevention. But given our increase in consumption of everything and anything, this looks unachievable right now. Reduction is the best we can hope for, and this means educating both the public and producers in the 3 R's to help minimize waste. In the waste business, we have what we call a hierarchy of waste and waste management. At the top is, as I mentioned, prevention, and at the bottom is disposal. Despite all the landfills and incinerators, disposal is now the last resort. We'd rather people reduced, reused or recycled. At the next level, we have reduction or minimization. This would mean people not buying more than they need, for example, and producers to cut back on unnecessary packaging. Failing this, we would then encourage people, both householders and producers, to reuse materials, be it clothing, plastic, whatever, rather than just throwing it away. A bit like the make, do and mend days of rationing. Next comes recycling, and there has been some progress in this over the last few years, but still far too much is going to waste. There is another level in the hierarchy before we get to disposal, and this is converting waste into an energy source, such as electricity or heat. If you have a garden and make your own compost, you'll know the kind of heat it can generate. Imagine that on the scale of a large landfill.
Now you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen to the next part of the talk and answer questions 17 to 20.
Now, I'll answer some of the questions put to me by you through Mrs. Wilson. First, one lady asked about batteries. I think you'll find most supermarkets, as well as electrical shops, have bins where you can get rid of used batteries. Other electrical goods you should take to your nearest recycling centre. Don't leave your old TV or fridge out in the drive for the bin men to collect. Another person wanted to know what domestic hazardous waste was. This category includes anything that is flammable, toxic or corrosive. Examples include drain cleaners, oil paint, motor oil, antifreeze, fuel, poisons, pesticides, herbicides. Also, things like fluorescent lamps, smoke detectors, medical waste, some types of cleaning chemicals and consumer electronics. Cell phone, for example. All these need to be bagged specially and require a trip to your local recycling plant. As to normal domestic waste, your local council should have provided you with colour-coded boxes or wheelie bins. Green for plastic bottles, tin cans and glass, and black for paper and card. It's obvious what you can put into these boxes, but less obvious what you can't. For example, you shouldn't put hardback books, fruit juice or milk cartons or Tetra Paks into the paper box. Nor should you put plastic dishes or packaging, plastic bags, yogurt pots, aluminium foil or crockery into the plastics box. Also, while you can put bottles in there, you mustn't put drinking glasses, window glass or broken glass of any kind. These boxes are all for recyclable material. Your non-recyclable waste goes into sturdy black bags. Now, your food waste.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3.